Hello and welcome. My name is Dominic Frisby, and today we look at how a boxer's clarity could change your life. The piece is called How to Win, Lessons from a Champion. So I was at a big family function on Christmas Eve where I ran into my brother-in-law, who used to be a world champion boxer. David Haye is his name, and way back when his sister and I were married, and he is uncle to my two oldest children. So I don't know if that makes him my former brother-in-law, whatever. I still maintain that the world doesn't quite know what an exceptional boxer David was. His speed and power was second to none, and the wins in France against Jean-Marc Mormec to win the cruiserweight world title after being knocked down in the fifth, and then in Germany against the unbeaten Russian, I think he was unbeaten, Nikolai Valuev, who at 23.4 stone and 7 feet was the largest heavyweight in history, were two of the greatest British overseas wins ever. And in winning both the cruiserweight and the heavyweight world titles, he achieved something only two other boxers, Evander Holyfield before him and Alexander Usyk after, have managed. And that tells you how good he was. Yet, he's not quite seen in the same light as those other two, largely because of injuries and losses later in his career. Now, I've known David since he was 15, 16, and he was going to be the heavyweight champion of the world even then. It was all almost anyone in the family talked about. And what I always most admired about him is he had this singularity and clarity of purpose. That and a sort of breathtaking, fearless honesty. He hides nothing, tells it like he sees it, and is not scared of the truth, and he lives with the consequences. Jordan Peterson would be proud. And it's that singularity of purpose, that winning mentality, that I wanted to talk about today. So, as a youngster, David used to spar with another fighter who was naturally more gifted, left-hander, southpaw, but he never made it through the amateur ranks. And David used to say about him, he would rather be the guy who could have made it, the guy sat in the pub 10 years from now telling everyone how he could have made it. He would rather be that guy than take the necessary risks and make the necessary sacrifices to actually make it. And I was always really struck by that attitude. And we all met up at David's mum and dad's, my old in-laws, and it was Christmas Eve. And all our kids were there. It was a lovely family do. And David's son, Cassius, Cassius Haye, I quite like that name, who's 16 and is turning out to be quite the tennis player. And we were all sat around, and I reminded them of a story from when Cassius was, 7, 8 or 9. We were having lunch one time. And I said to Cassius that tennis was a great sport to get good at because unlike, say, football, if it doesn't work out, you can always get a job as a tennis coach. You can always get a job as a football coach, but it's more limited. But as a tennis coach, you can go anywhere in the world and, you can have a pretty nice life. And I looked to my right after I'd said this, and David was fuming. He's going, what are you telling him that shit for? Why are you putting those kind of doubts in his head? And I was thinking, somebody manages their risk, I guess. The sports stars of olden time, you were always told to get a trade first, just in case it doesn't work out. But David's the total opposite. He wants no option B. And that mentality reminded me of a story that's in my new book about gold, about Spanish conquistador Hernan Cortés. And Cortés landed in Mexico in 1519. And the reason he landed there was to find gold, basically. And he had 508 soldiers and 11 ships. It was to conquer as well, spread Christianity, all of that. But on landing, he scuttled 10 of his ships, burnt them. It meant sank them. It meant there was no escape. His men now had to win or die. And later on Christmas Eve that evening, Dave and I were backing and forthing on the text a bit, and I told him that story. And that's kind of the point of today's vlog. As we're in the time of New Year's resolutions and all of that, it's kind of an appropriate one. David sent this message back And I just think it's one of the most brilliant texts about winning, about clarity, about singularity of purpose that I've ever received. And so I'm going to read it to you in full. So here we go. I'm actually going to read it off the screen because I'm recording this on my phone. But yes, I've heard the same story, and it's a lesson that resonates deeply with me, not just in the abstract, but in how I've lived my life and shaped the mindset of my children. When Cortés sank his ships, he left his men with no option but to succeed. And that's not just a story of conquest, it's a metaphor for the winning mindset. When there's no retreat, no plan B, the path becomes clear. The mind and body focus completely on achieving the one goal that matters. And that same principle was drilled into me from an early age. My dad told me I could box when I was 10, but only if I was the best. There was no room for half-hearted effort or second thoughts. And from the moment I said I wanted to be the heavyweight champion of the world, the pinnacle of the sport, every decision I made aligned with that. There was no ambiguity, no backdoor exit. Winning wasn't just a possibility, it was the only outcome. And that's the mindset I've passed on to Cassius and Kingston. Kingston's David's other son. And he wants to be the best tennis player in the world. We all want to be the best tennis player in the world, but you know what I mean. And he knows what that means. Living full-time in Spain, he's training in the blazing heat on clay courts, pushing his body and mind to the limit every single day. He understands, like I did, that greatness demands clarity and sacrifice. It's about burning the ships, eliminating all distractions, all doubts, so there's only one way forward. Winning isn't an accident or a stroke of luck. It is the result of relentless dedication and a mindset hardwired from the very start. It's about creating an environment where success is the only option, so the journey becomes as clear as the destination. That is how champions are made, whether in the ring, on the court, or in life. So this is me talking now, Dominic. We don't all want to be number one. There can only be one heavyweight world champion. Many of us are content with what we have. But if you're serious about becoming top dog, then I think that text message from someone who's been there and done it should be put to memory. And I have to say, I look at my own life and I'm the very opposite. Jack of all trades, master of none, comedian and financial blogger. What? How does that work? I've also been, over the years, a prolific voiceover artist, one of the most prolific in the UK at one point, a podcast host, a TV presenter, an actor, author of 3 books, forthcoming out this summer. Did I mention this? A boxing ring announcer for Haymaker Boxing. Who says nepotism doesn't exist? And I've been a million other things I can't remember. And even within comedy, my career is disparate. Comic songs, a little bit of stand-up, MC, witty raconteur, lectures with funny bits. Even in my finance, gold or Bitcoin, which is it? Well, why not both? So sometimes people they ask me why I'm not more well-known than I am. And maybe there's your answer. I do too many things quite well instead of excelling at one. But then again, you know, there's been plenty of Renaissance men who've done very well. I think I do all these things partly because I just get interested in stuff, but it is also a defensive thing, I'm sure. If one of these things doesn't work out, I've always got the other to fall back on. So I was going to say one of my resolutions for 2025 is to do fewer things better. But then if you look at my resolutions, I've got a million things going on. But they all do have a sort of libertarian goal at the end of them. My songs are all about libertarian stuff. My books, you know, my financial advice, there is the same theme to all of them. But it's a very interesting subject, and I'd be very interested to know what you think. So please put your thoughts and comments in the chat section below. Happy New Year. I hope 2025 gives you everything you're looking for. Let's hope it's a belter. And thanks very much for subscribing to this channel. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe. Please subscribe to my Substack. Please like. Please share. Goodbye. Until next time.